In this video on coordinate geometry of the line, we'll be revisiting the ideas of parallel and perpendicular lines, and we'll be looking at finding the equation of a line when the question has mention of parallel or perpendicular. So first of all, let's just remind ourselves about the rules for parallel and perpendicular lines. First of all, for parallel lines, and the rule here is that if two lines are parallel, that they'll have the same slope. So the slope of the first line, which I can call M1, equals the slope of the second line, which I can call M2. Next, perpendicular lines. In the case of perpendicular lines, I can check for perpendicularity by multiplying my slopes together, and if they are perpendicular, I should get a result of -1. I can write this as M1 times M2 equals -1, or the slope of the first line times the slope of the second line equals -1. Now we tend to use this particular formula as a test for perpendicular lines. And just note the symbol here just is the symbol for perpendicular. But in the case where I know one slope and I want to get the second slope of the line that is perpendicular to the first line, well then I'm just going to flip my slope and change the sign. And we'll be using this technique in the questions that follow. So let's look at an example. So my example is that a line passes through the point 1, 5 and is parallel to the line y equals 2x minus 3, and I want to find that line's equation. Well, don't forget, to find the equation of a line, there's two things that I need. And those two things are a point and a slope. So if I look at the question carefully, I should be able to glean enough information to actually find these two things. So first one's really easy. I need a point the line goes through. Well, quite clearly in this question, the line passes through the point 1, 5. So I have that point straight away. My point is 1, 5, and I still need to find my slope. Now, I'm not directly told the slope of the line. However, I'm given a clue to get there. I'm told that the line I want is parallel to the line y equals 2x minus 3. Now remember from our earlier observations that parallel lines have the same slope. So the slope that I want is the same as this line's slope y equals 2x minus 3. And of course it's really easy to pick out the slope of this line. Take a moment yourself to see, can you do that? Well, notice that this line is written in the form y equals mx plus c. So the coefficient of x is our slope. So just by looking at that there, I can see that my slope is 2 in this case. And since the line that I want is parallel to this line, well, my line's also going to have the same slope. So my slope is going to be 2. And so this is the information then that I'll use to get the equation of the line. Now, since I want to get the equation of a line, I must know the formula for the equation. So here's my formula. Again, it comes from page 18 in the log tables. And now before I fill my information in, I'm just going to label it nice and clearly. So I know that I must label my point as x1, y1, and my slope as m. And now that information is going to get filled into this formula. So I've got y minus 5 equals 2 bracket x minus 1. And at this stage then I just need to tidy this up and write it in the appropriate format. So I'm going to first of all multiply out to get y minus 5 equals 2x minus 2. And then I'm either going to tidy it up into y equals mx plus c or ax plus by plus c equals 0, depending on what the question is asking. But this question doesn't actually tell me which format it wants, so I'm free to choose whichever one I prefer. And I'm going to go with the y equals mx plus c format. So I'll leave the y on the left and the minus 5 can go across. So I'll get y equals 2x minus 2 plus 5. And then finally, I'll just put these like terms, the constants together. And I get y equals 2x plus 3. And this is my answer. And it's just interesting to note when looking at this solution and comparing it back to the line that I was using in the question that was parallel to it, that in both cases I've got y equals 2x. And that's because those two lines are parallel, so they must have the same slope. And of course, the number in front of the x, the coefficient of x, is the slope of the line. And just notice how the y-intercepts are different. And that's because these are two different lines. If they had the same y-intercept as well, they'd just be the same line. But this line goes through the y-axis of minus 3, and this goes through the y-axis of plus 3. The question isn't asking this in this case, it's just an observation that might be useful in a different question. Okay, so now a question for you. A line passes through minus 2, 1 and is parallel to the line y equals minus 3x plus 1. Find its equation. Pause the video here while you complete the question and then play and see if you are correct. Okay, so again I want to find the equation of the line, so I need two pieces of information, point and slope. The point is clearly given to me as the point minus 2, 1. And while I'm not directly told the slope to use, I'm told that the line that I want to make is parallel to the line y equals minus 3x plus 1. So these lines must have the same slope. The slope of the parallel line that I've been given is minus 3, And so the line that I want to make must have the same slope of -3. I want to make the equation of the line, so I'll note the formula. And I'll label the information in point and slope. And now I'll substitute in. Just watch out for some double minuses this time. So I've got y minus 1 equals -3 bracket x plus 2, and this plus has come from the double minus created by the minus in the formula and the minus in the number. Now I'll multiply out. And again, here take care with your signs, because -3 times +2 is going to give you -6. Now all that remains is just to tidy up our equation, and I'll do that by writing it in the form y equals mx plus c. To do that, I've brought the -1 to the right hand side, changing it to a +1. And finally, the -6 plus 1 just gives me -5. So my equation of the line that I wanted is y equals -3x minus 5, and I'm finished with the question. Okay, so let's look at a second example now. So my second example is that a line passes through the point 3 minus 2 and is parallel to the line 2x plus 3y minus 5 equals 0. I want to find its equation in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. So again, to find the equation of a line, I need to know a point and slope. Obviously here my point is the point 3 minus 2, but this time finding the slope is a slightly different proposition from the last time. I do know that the line that I want is parallel to the line 2x plus 3y minus 5 equals 0, so they still will have the same slope, but because of the format the line is given to me in, it takes a little bit more work to figure out what the slope of the line is. We've done this quite recently, so pause the video here and just see, can you remember how to get the slope of a line when the line is written in this format. So the rule that we use in this situation is that the slope is equal to minus a over b. And we use this rule when an equation is given to us in the format ax plus by plus c equals 0. So here's my a and here's my b, and so my slope for that particular line is going to be equal to minus 2 over 3. Since I want to make the parallel line, I'll use the same slope, so my slope for the line that I want to make will also be minus 2 over 3. I want to make the equation, so I'll note the formula, and I'll label my points. Or should I say I'll label my point of my slope. So x1, y1 and m for those. And at this stage, if you're confident about substituting this information in and tidying this equation up into the form ax plus by plus c equals 0, go ahead, pause the video here, try it out and then play and see if you're correct. Okay, so I'm going to do my substitution now. Again, watch out for any double negatives. So you'll see here that I've written in y plus 2 because I've got a minus in the formula and a minus in the y1. And if you want to still write in y minus minus 2, that's totally fine as well. There's no problem with that. Then I'm going to get rid of my brackets and multiply. And I'm going to get y plus 2 equals minus 2 over 3x plus 2. Now at this stage, all that remains is for me to write the equation in the correct format. And the question is specifically asking for that format to be ax plus by plus c equals 0. So I have to do that. So that means getting everything on one side, preferably with the x being positive, and then getting rid of fractions. So to do that, I'm going to note that my x currently is negative, so I'll move everything across to the left-hand side first of all. So I'll bring the minus 2 over 3x across, and it's going to be a positive over here. I've got the plus y that was already there, and I've also got that plus 2. And this plus 2 will come across and become a minus 2. And then a quick tidy up with the 2 and the minus 2. So I've got 2 over 3x plus y plus 0 equals 0. Normally I wouldn't bother leaving this 0 in here, but the question has asked me specifically to write it in this format, so it does want me to give all 3 bits of my equation. So I'll leave the 0 in there as a placeholder for the c. And now I don't want to have a fraction, because generally when we're talking about our equation in this format, I want the a, b and c to be whole numbers. So I can say that a, b and c are elements of z. And I can do that simply by multiplying by the denominator, so 3. And when I do that, my result will be 2x plus 3y plus 0 equals 0. Again, it's interesting to go back and draw a comparison with the line that I was given that was parallel originally. So the line that I was getting my slope from was 2x plus 3y minus 5 equals 0. And I was told that was parallel to the line that I wanted to make. And just notice here the similarities. When I look at my line that I made, it also starts at 2x plus 3y. And you'll always find that with parallel lines that are written in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. Okay, so now a question for you. So here's your question. A line passes through the point 2, 0 and is parallel to the line 4x minus 3y minus 1 equals 0. Find its equation. And again this time, we want to give that equation in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. So pause your video here, give the question a go, and then play and see if you're correct. Okay, so like before, I'm making an equation. I need to know point and slope. The point is clearly given to me as the point 2, 0, and the slope I have to work for, because I'm told that the line that I want is parallel to this line, and so I must figure out the slope of this line, because the line that I want will have the same slope. Don't forget I'm using that minus a over b formula to get my slope out from the equation of the line, and so in this case, this line's slope will be minus 4 over minus 3. And of course I can simplify that a little bit to just be 4 over 3. And again, since the line that I want is parallel to this line, I'm looking for the same slope. So now that I have my point and my slope, I'm going to note my formula for the equation of a line. I'm going to label my information, and I'm going to fill it in. So I've got y minus 0 equals 4 over 3 by x minus 2. Now I need to multiply that out, and that's going to give me y equals 4 over 3x minus 8 over 3. You might wonder where the 0 has gone to, but y minus 0 is just the same thing as y. Now I'm going to bring everything to one side, and I want the x to be positive. Well, the x is positive where it is, so I'll leave it on this side, and I'll bring the y over to join it. And the y has gone from being positive on the left to being negative on the right. Now I don't want to have fractions, so I'll multiply by the denominator to get 0 equals 4x minus 3y minus 8, and I'm just literally going to take that then and put the equal 0 on the right hand side, just to finish it off. And again, just like before, note that the line that I was given here and the line that I've ended up with had to be parallel. And again, notice how their a and b values are the same. The c value isn't, but of course it's not, because I'm not getting the exact same line. They just had the same slope. Okay, so at this stage now, we're going to go back and do a few more examples, this time thinking about perpendicular lines. So we'll be doing a few more examples that are pretty much going through the same type of question, but this time the focus is on perpendicular. So just before we do that, let's just go back and note some information from the beginning of our video, which is that parallel lines have the same slope. That's what we've been working with up until now. And then perpendicular lines have slopes that multiply to give you minus 1. So that's something that you use to test for perpendicular lines. We won't really be using this too much in these examples. We're really going to be using this information here, how to find the slope of a perpendicular line. And don't forget, the rule there will be to flip the slope and change the sign. So let's look at an example now. So here's our example. A line passes through minus 2, 3 and is perpendicular to the line y equals 2x minus 1. Find its equation. Okay, so again, I'm looking for the equation of a line. If I want the equation of a line, I need the point, or a point it travels through, and its slope. So I'll see what information the question gives me about this. Well, the point is very clearly stated. The line goes through the point minus 2, 3. So I'll note that. And then I go looking for information about slope. Well, I'm not directly told the slope again in this question, but I am told that the line that I want is perpendicular to the line y equals 2x minus 1. And of course, perpendicular is always a hint about slope. So if I can find the slope of this line, well then to find the perpendicular slope, I'll just need to flip it and change the sign to get the slope of the line that I want. Well, it's really easy for me in this case to get the slope of the line y equals 2x minus 1, because it's laid out in the format y equals mx plus c. So this number here, the coefficient of x, is my slope. So that's the slope of this line, but now I want the perpendicular slope. So I'll have to take this value, flip it and change its sign. And just before I do, let's note that I can write this slope 2 as 2 over 1. So the slope that I want to use then will be what I get when I flip this over. So I'm going to flip it over and make a half. And I must also change its sign. So this is a positive value, so I'm going to change it to a negative value. So my slope is minus 1 over 2. Okay, now I've got my point and I've got my slope. I'll note my formula for the equation of the line. And I'll label my point and my slope. And at this stage, if you feel confident to proceed to the end, then pause the video, do it yourself, and then play and see if you're correct. Okay, so I've labelled my information here, x1, y1 and m, and now I'll fill it in. Again, watch out there for your double negatives. So this time I'll get y minus 3 equals minus a half bracket x plus 2, and now I want to multiply out. So that's going to give me y minus 3 equals minus a half x minus 1, and now I haven't been told to give any particular format for my answer, so I'm going to take the path of least resistance and write it in the form y equals mx plus c. That just means bring the minus 3 over to the right hand side. So I'll have y equals minus a half x minus 1 plus 3, and then I'll just tidy up my constants at the end. And my equation is now y equals minus a half x plus 2. Before we start our next question, just take a moment to look at this result here at the end and see, can you tell from looking at this equation what the slope of this line is and what its y-intercept is? Well, the slope is the coefficient of x, and we knew that because minus a half was the slope. We have that mentioned up here. and the y-intercept is plus 2, so it goes through 2 on the y-axis. That's just a little reminder of some information that's come up in some previous videos. Okay, so now on to question 3. So your question is, a line passes through the point -1, -1 and is perpendicular to the line y equals 2 over 3x minus 1. Find its equation. So pause the video here, try the question, and then play and see if you're correct. Okay, so let's see. I want to make the equation of a line. I need point and slope. The point is given to me clearly in the question. It's -1, -1. And for slope, I have to go looking for clues. So I'm told that I want the line that's perpendicular to the line y equals 2 over 3x minus 1. Don't forget, perpendicular means that I'll take the slope of the line that I'm given, flip it and change the sign. So the line that I'm given is y equals 2 over 3x minus 1. And the slope of that line is 2 over 3x. Sorry, 2 over 3 I should say. So I'm going to take this 2 over 3, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to change its sign. And I'm going to end up with -3 over 2. So now this is the information that I'll use to make my equation. Now I'll note the formula for the equation of the line, I'll label my information, and I'll substitute it in. And again, watch out there for those double minuses. Now I'll multiply out. And since the question doesn't say that I have to write it in any particular format, I'm going to go with the easy option, y equals mx plus c. I'll just bring the 1 across and change its sign. And then finally I'll tidy up by just doing the subtraction here. And again, don't forget, you can use your calculator for that. And we're going to get y equals -3 over 2x minus 5 over 2, and we're perfectly happy to leave this here as an improper fraction. Again, just a little observation here at the end. This line that I've got in the format y equals mx plus c, I can tell 2 things about it from this equation. Its slope is -3 over 2, and its y-intercept is -5 over 2. Okay, so another example now. Okay, so a line passes through -2, 5 and is perpendicular to the line 3x plus 5y minus 3 equals 0, and I want to find its equation. So the only difference here between this and the last example and question is that my line is given to me in a different format and I want the answer in a different format. So I can't read my slope off quite as quickly as I did in the previous question. We'll come to that in a moment. Again, the first thing that I note is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the equation of the line. So I need to note point and slope. So we'll just note the point first of all because that's nice and straightforward. The point here is -2, 5. Okay, so again now it's slope, we're looking for a perpendicular line to this line that we're given. So remember, for perpendicular slopes, I'll have to figure out the slope of this line and then flip it over and change its sign. But first of all, I have to figure out the slope of this line. So again, this line is given to me in the format ax plus by plus c equals 0. So if I want to figure out its slope, I can use that old m equals -a over b trick. So when I look at the equation of the line here, I'm looking at the a and b values, 3 and 5. And I can note so that the slope of this particular line that I'm being given here is -3 over 5. So don't forget, I change the sign of the A, I don't change the sign of the B. So now that I have that slope, well, that's good, but it's not quite the slope that I want because I want the perpendicular line to this. So I want to flip that guy over and change its sign. So I'll flip it over and it'll become 5 over 3. And I'm changing its sign, so it was negative and now it's positive. Okay, now I have my point and my slope. I can proceed to get the equation of the line. So I'll note my formula and I'll label my information and I'll substitute in. So I'll have y minus 5 equals 5 over 3 bracket x plus 2. Again, just note that double negative, minus in the formula, minus in the point, making that positive 2 there at the end. And then I'll multiply out. So I'll get y minus 5 equals 5 over 3x plus 10 over 3. Now the question didn't ask me for a particular format for my answer, but at this stage, just for practice, I'm going to say, let's write this in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0 for the end. Okay, so that means moving everything to one side, I want the x to be positive. So note the x is positive where it is, so everything can come over from the left to the right-hand side. If you're confident at this stage that you know how to proceed, then pause the video here and do this yourself, and then play and see if you're correct. Okay, so I'll have nothing left on the left-hand side, and everything on the right-hand side can stay where it is, and the y will become a negative, and the 5 will become a positive. And let's just put things in the right order now. So I'm just flipping that equation. So 5 over 3x minus y plus 10 over 3 plus 5 equals 0. I'm going to add these two together. And again, you can use your calculator for that if you like. And I don't want fractions in my answer, so I'll times that by the denominator, which is 3 in this case. And again, if you're hesitant with that multiplication, well, first of all, note that you can use your calculator, but also note that if you're multiplying 3 by a fraction that has 3 in the denominator, then effectively the 3's cancel out. So my solution is going to be 5x minus 3y plus 25 equals to 0. In the questions where the lines were parallel a little while ago, we paused at this stage, just have a note of the comparison between the equation of the line that I was given and the line that I ended up with. So in those examples, I had the A and B values being the same, but this time I'm looking at perpendicular lines, but there's still a comparison to be made. Note how the A and B values are 3 and 5, and in the perpendicular line, those values have switched position and one of them has changed signs. So again, there's a connection there between the equation that I was given and the equation that I end up with on the basis that their slopes are perpendicular, or the lines are perpendicular. Okay, so last question, one for you. So your question is that a line passes through the point 3, 4 and is perpendicular to the line 2x minus 3y minus 1 equals 0. We want to find its equation in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. Pause the video here while you do this, and then play and see if you're correct. Okay, so let's go through it. We want to find the equation of a line. We need to know the point and slope. Point is clearly given as 3, 4, and the slope I have to go hunting for because I'm told that the line that I want is perpendicular to this line here, 2x minus 3y minus 1 equals 0. So the first thing that I need to do is figure out the slope of this line that I'm given. So the slope is going to be minus a over b, so I'll change the a value, don't change the b value. So that's minus 2 over minus 3, which I can simplify a little bit to 2 over 3. So 2 over 3 is the slope of this line, but I want the perpendicular line, so I'll flip that slope over and change its sign. I'll note the formula for the equation of the line, I'll label my information, and then I'll substitute in. And now I'll multiply out. So I'll get y minus 4 equals minus 3 over 2x plus 9 over 2. And now I want to get it in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. That means getting everything to one side, and I would like the x coefficient to be positive. So I just note that as things stand, my x is negative, so I'll bring all this information on the right-hand side over to the left-hand side. So I'll change signs here and get 3 over 2x, and also change signs to get minus 9 over 2, and the y and the minus 4 are staying on the same side, so no change there. And then I just need to take my constants and put them together. And again, you can use your calculator to do that if you like. At this stage then, I want to have all whole numbers, no fractions when I've got it in this format. So I'll multiply across by the denominator, and in this case that's 2. And don't forget that every term is getting multiplied by 2. And I'm ending up with an answer of 3x plus 2y minus 17 equals to 0. Now there was quite a lot of information in this video, so I would really suggest that you might need to watch it more than once. You might need to watch the whole thing all over again, but you might want to watch certain segments of it. And particularly if you're trying a question that is quite like one of the questions in this video, it might be worth your while to just watch that portion of the video first of all, and then try your question. And don't forget, it's also a good idea as you work through all of these to pause frequently and try and do it yourself, and then check and see if you're correct.